And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show, and this is going to be episode 399. So I hope you guys had a great day, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with Cancel This Podcast, and this is going to be his first appearance on this show. But you guys do remember Cancel This Podcast. He made several appearances on my Iron Man podcast, which I did, which was just on Rumble and Twitter and Twitch. Then when it became just the MSK show, where I did the final rebrand, kind of like the MSK Rebirth Initiative, kind of like how DC Rebirth was an initiative for DC Comics some years ago. I was reborn. I'm like the Phoenix. You kill me, and then I just become this entity that can take over and destroy everything. And what's crazy is you were supposed to appear on the show last year, but you were just so busy that we just didn't get a chance to do it until literally at this moment in time during this month, beginning of 2026. And so much has actually gone on, because the last time you were on the Iron Man podcast, which is crazy because Charlie Kirk was still alive at that moment in time.
Yes, that's a good point. That's absolutely
fucking crazy. Like, I was trying to bring up on Rumble, when was the last episode you were on for the Iron Man podcast? I think I can look right now. Let me type into the search bar, Cancel. So the last episode you were on, which is crazy, you were on a year ago. So that was probably like, it doesn't say the exact month. I'm about to click on it for that. You were on the Iron Man podcast episode 596 for your second appearance. And then the first appearance you made on that show was 373. So that, I swear that last time, that last time you were on, I swear Charlie Kirk was still alive. That was on September 9th at 8:40 EDT.
He was still alive, man. And it's crazy that the whole world has changed. I mean, we've been in a crazy time to be alive. Look at this first week of 2026, and it's already coming in hot. A lot of crazy stuff going on. And like you said, it was busy. The final, I know you got called into work. Then I had stuff going on with work and family, and the holiday season just throws everybody for a loop. Then you're like, holiday in the middle of the week. It just blows your brain because you're thinking.
Yeah, that was my fault. I straight up forgot that
it was Christmas Eve. I did too, because it's like I'm used to it being sort of at the later end of the week. And, it just disrupts everything from a work standpoint, a personal standpoint. When Christmas, New Year just pop in the center of the week, it's great to have those 2 extra days off, but it feels like Saturday, Sunday. Then it's like Saturday, Sunday, like again right afterwards, because holidays always feel like a weekend no matter what. So, it was crazy, man. It was pretty wild. But glad to be here. Glad to be able to have a good talk. I'll be going live way later on my show in the late night. But a lot of crazy stuff.
You ever thought about just not going out late? Can you just go out early, like 8 o'clock, go to bed?
Well, the problem is my co-host John, that's the only time his wife and child are asleep. So it's the only time he gets to sort of wind down.
Yeah.
And our whole sort of thing that we do on Cancel's podcast, we kind of meant it to be like an alternative to late night shows from back in the day. I mean, it's very similar like Steven Crowder. Now, Steven Crowder moved to the mornings because it was more viable to him. But also, Steven Crowder is doing something we're not doing. Steven Crowder is making money, so he can afford to do it, man. He's got a studio. He's got all these guys. So I'm like, you know what? We're good on late night because you know what? People don't want to watch Colbert. They don't want to watch Kimmel. They don't want to watch, what's the other one? Fallon.
That's what you got to tell them. Yep.
Yeah. And it's late night. That's when the wildness comes out. That's when you get to be too crude for YouTube, too raunchy for Rumble. And the other big thing about it, that you get with like sort of a late night sort of show is, if there's anything that sort of develops during the day, we could bring that in. And so there are some advantages to it. Obviously, I let people know that you can always watch it on demand because people aren't up that late usually, but it is something to do. I mean, me and my co-host sort of got our roots. He used to be an intern for Opie and Anthony. He used to, be a big follower of Stern before Stern sort of, fell off and kind of became this dinosaur that he's become. And, we still embody the spirit of what he used to be, where it's, take no prisoners and, say what you feel, just throw it out there, no matter how much people be like, did he just say that? But obviously now it's the right that's able to do that, and the left are just completely virtue signaling weirdos. So it's just fun to be able to just let loose, and it's kind of therapeutic. As this could be therapeutic in its own way, being able to do content.
Yeah. Also, when you do a show that late in the night, you
Mhm.
can honestly have a more thoughtful conversation, because
Mhm.
back in the day,
Mhm.
when I would do like news videos, whether I'm doing for them for Yu-Gi-Oh, whether I'm doing them
Mhm.
for any of my other subjects that I like and
Mhm.
have a lot of interest in, I would
Mhm.
always give these takes where it was just kind of like these surface level takes that when you
Mhm.
just hear about the information, I always
Exactly.
feel like you end up having a better conversation with the people on your show or
Mhm.
any sort of panel or one-on-one when you've
Mhm.
actually had time to let your thoughts simmer, you know?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Because it's and that's sort of the thing. Obviously, with the internet generation, everybody sort of reacts on instinct, on the first headline, the first impression. Maybe you haven't gotten all the information quite yet, or you just see sort of those headlines bouncing around, and and the internet relies on that. And it's it's a little bit better when you get to sort of work a little later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also felt like I understood what was going on better when I would let my thoughts simmer on it, and then because
Mhm.
like you said with the internet, like with
Mhm.
stories, they change so fast. So by the time
Mhm.
you thought something about this specific story,
Mhm.
by like 10 o'clock at night, you might have a whole different thought process on the entire thing.
I
You
mean,
know?
look at the George Floyd situation. That's a great example. I mean,
Yeah.
the internet's first reaction. It wasn't a right or left thing. It wasn't a politicized thing. The man's death was not politicized. Everybody universally was like, "Wow, that's screwed up." And then we found sort of more information as the days and weeks came out, and you're like, "Wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. There's questions here. There's different angles that this footage is coming from." And just like this right now, everybody sort of went off the first angle. The first angle of the event that's going on in Minnesota looks bad.
Mhm.
But then when you see it from those two or three other angles, you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is not what they're presenting it to be.
Mhm.
And the media relies, especially these days, on sort of that MK Ultra first knee jerk reaction. It's very easy to emotionally manipulate people, especially people who, for lack of a better word, stupid people. Because I see a lot of dumb people who will never ever look at that video from another angle. They will never ever look at it past that first story, and their minds are made up. You cannot convince them otherwise. And
Yeah, I had to
propagandists
learn
rely on
that.
that.
I had
Mm-hmm.
to learn that about how all of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff works. Like, so just for anyone who doesn't know about how this works, as an example, let's use something with like movies, right? So let's say,
Mm-hmm.
because recently it came out that Sebastian Stan might be joining the
Mm-hmm.
Batman 2. So
Mm-hmm.
people aren't going to follow it after that point. People
Mm-hmm.
aren't going to even potentially remember most of why he even joined the Batman Part 2. All they're going to remember is what's initially announced to them. That's it. So, like, have you ever noticed, guys, with
Mm-hmm.
stories where people don't even, because
Mm-hmm.
when people say they're misinformed, it's not that they're misinformed. They're so lazy that they don't
Mm-hmm.
even follow a story past its initial announcing point. They're just only thinking the story is that it ends like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. And if you give
Yeah.
them any more information, they're like, "Show me your evidence." What do you mean, show me the evidence? Can you look
Well,
it up yourself? Are you that retarded? You know?
yeah. Well, I mean, here's a great example. Like right now, we have it in the zeitgeist again that Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down, and I feel like the boy has cried wolf too many times on that. I feel like I've heard it 3, 4, maybe 5 times.
Oh, I've heard it
It
a
feels
long
like
time. Yeah.
it happens. It's like the sky is falling. It's the story of like the sky is falling, the sky is falling. The boy who cried wolf. And then when it actually happens, nobody believes it because it hasn't happened the past 8 times someone's brought it up. Look, I love Doomcock to death. But how many times has he told us, I have it available on my sources that Kathleen Kennedy is stepping down? And then that hoe is still there. Like, look, the only way she's getting out is if she dies. Like, if God himself strikes that one with lightning, I
Yeah.
would believe that she's out at Disney, Lucasfilm,
Yeah.
whatever. But until that happens, or until they say verbatim out of the mouth of Bob Iger or whoever's running Disney by that time, look, Kathleen Kennedy's fired, she's gone, or she's retired, or whatever, I'm not believing the damn thing. You can talk about Dave Filoni all damn day. I don't believe you for a second, all right?
Well, because there's other angles
Yeah.
in that too. Because
Yeah.
there was the big Kathleen Kennedy leaving story that happened on like Deadline last year. You remember? Where
Yeah,
she
I do
literally
remember
they
that.
asked her,
Yeah.
"Are you actually leaving?" And she said, "Well, if I ever were to leave, I will actually leave myself. I'll transition myself out of it, and we'll put someone in charge." And then the story, like you just said, happened where Dave Filoni's going to be the guy that potentially takes over for her. But there's a problem with that people don't understand. When she said she's removing herself from that spot, does anyone logically think she's just not going to be involved in general? She's going to be still involved, even though she's not going to be the president.
Yep.
He's just going to be the newest fall guy.
A lot of people
has
forget,
better PR than she does.
A lot of people forget Kathleen has been around for a long time before all of the internet buzz around how she's ruined Star Wars. Look, I'll be devil's advocate here. She wasn't always horrible. She's just another one of these people whose mind has been warped by the current ideology. If you look back into the 80s, she's the executive producer of the Poltergeist movies. These are solid horror movies. And then you watch it.
Certified classics.
Yeah, and the credits roll and you see executive producer Kathleen Kennedy and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, what? like you start like going all crying game. Like you feel it in your soul. Like, oh, I feel dirty now. But once upon a time, Kathleen Kennedy was actually good at her job. She's just not good at her job now because just like many people in these positions, the derangement syndrome, the ideology, the pandering to a certain vocal minority of people took over, their body, mind, and soul. And when you're making this, it's very easy to lose yourself in that, and you don't care about making a good product anymore. All you care about is your bottom line, and that's where this woman is. I'm sure that she was probably a nice person when George Lucas first met her. She's an asshole now. But, once upon a time, she was able to deliver the goods. That time is long past. I mean, look, it's just like anything else. You could be good at your job, and then 20 years later, you're bad at your job because you're old, you're withered. You're like, it's embarrassing. It's like Ric Flair entering a wrestling ring right now. It's bad. But
it's just the average person doesn't get that. The average person thinks because this person peaked in whatever they were doing, that means they're automatically that, and they're never going to have any ups and downs. Like, guys, even Kobe Bryant had ups and downs in his basketball career. Michael Jordan had ups and downs in his basketball career, right? But they're considered they're still considered the GOATs of the game, even with those ups and downs, right?
Exactly. But overall, in anything, people are gonna peak, and then they're gonna come down from that peak, and then somebody
she hasn't come in a while. We know that lady's dry.
Oh no, that woman that she's drier than Imhotep's tomb. I mean that's not good. I feel bad for whoever got to sleep with that. I mean, I know somebody is. I feel bad for him. All right,
we know he's not the man in the relationship.
Diddy party, man. They got more baby oil in a Diddy party.
Well, the thing is, we know he's not the man in that relationship because the way I've seen so many men get dogged out while being married. There's no way I'll believe. She's probably married, right? As kid, but there's no way he's the man in that relationship. No way I'm believing that. No fucking way. He's probably a blue-haired feminist himself. Probably thinks
more likely
female and all this other nonsense too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's the thing about do you remember those TMNT Nickelodeon produced movies?
Yes,
like Michael Bay wasn't the director of those movies, but you can tell he had a lot of influence on those movies based on how the characters looked,
absolutely,
the story. So if people think that just because it's Dave Filoni taking over, guys, Dave Filoni thinks just like her. There's interviews where he talks about, hey, let's add in more women characters.
He's just her with a stupid-looking cowboy hat on, as far as I'm concerned.
Right?
And the other issue with all of it, and that has to be really brought up with any of these companies is, yes, tenure does matter. You could be gone and you could still be sort of, in charge. Look, Jeff Bezos is not the CEO of Amazon, but Amazon is still his company. Bill Gates is no longer the CEO of Microsoft. That's still his company. Bob Iger stepped down, and he still had power over Bob Chapek, despite not actively being there, to the point where he fired Chapek and took his own job back. These people retain a sort of influence and power over the companies. It doesn't matter that they left. They still, are considered the boss, the herald. They call the shots at the end of the day. And Kathleen Kennedy, she may eventually transition to being irrelevant completely, but it's not going to happen overnight. Anything that she sort of signed her name on right now is still going to go through. It just means that Filoni's name is now on the plaque. Basically,
Disney generally thinks that he has better PR than Kathleen Kennedy, and I mean, maybe it really just depends on how people consider that, because Kathleen Kennedy was like a lightning rod for all the Star Wars criticism. And keep in mind, that's the position you have, like the NBA commissioner. I forget his name. Oh my, I'm blanking out his name right now. But the NBA commissioner tanks all the bad PR, also takes all the good PR. So maybe she's at a point where she's like, I don't want to tank any of this bad PR anymore. Let someone else do it,
Yes.
But it must be at a point where her name on stuff is such a red flag for people. They go, I don't want to watch that. Like, will Dave Filoni be able to turn things around, guys? I'd be honest here, I really don't know, because Star Wars is in such a bad shape. I mean, he had to work some miracles. I know he was involved in Mandalorian seasons 1 through 3. I know he was involved in Ahsoka. Like, Ahsoka had worse ratings than Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Those shows were terrible.
A lot of people toot this man's horn because of Clone Wars. That's what it is.
Right,
but there's also, I mean, so there's like a certain group of people that they're going to see Filoni's name and be like, Dave Filoni. But then there's people like myself, there's people like Ryan Kinnell who go, Dave Filoni, fuck that guy. Like, you know, like it's not going to work either way they think it's going to work. It's going to continue to divide the fan base. Maybe not in the way that Kennedy does, but it will continue to divide the fan base. I think you've done too much brand damage to Star Wars at this point. I think it's an irradiated brand. It's not just Kathleen. It's every time Mark Hamill opens his mouth and makes a stupid Star Wars reference while referencing real life politics. It's all sorts of other things. It's Leslie Headland coming in with the Acolyte, trying to retcon things that she has no business retconning. All of it. It's a disaster. And, you know, I've said it before that I believe that Star Wars is basically like a nuclear irradiated, you know, territory. It will not be inhabitable for at least 100 years. And, you know, it's sad, but that's just how it is, because it's not just the movies. It's not just the comic books. It's not just all of the media that we're taking in. Look at the action figure sales. Nobody's buying these things. Kids don't look at Star Wars and think, whoa, that's cool anymore. That's a problem. What happened is Disney made the worst mistake they could have, and this is across all their properties, and they stopped marketing to young people. They decided their market was people who are 30 to 40, 50 years old who have like a perpetual arrested development. That doesn't work. The reason that these franchises were successful is because they were able to capture the young audience. When I was a kid, which was probably, it feels like a millennia ago, you know, Star Wars, you know, the first, you know, episode 4, 5, and 6, that was it. The action figures, everybody loved it, right? And 1, 2, and 3 came out. I was more critical of 1, 2, and 3, but my nephews, all right, and my cousins, you know, they loved it because they're younger. They're part of that. Not, you know, I'm an 80s kid. They're 90s kids. So it hit them different than it hit me. All right.
Yeah.
But when Last Jedi and that trilogy came out, the sequel trilogy came out, they didn't even bother to market it to children. They bothered to try to market it to the 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6 audiences. That didn't work because that's when it started being less about marketing to the generation, a Star Wars for a new generation, and more about a Star Wars that adheres to a certain ideology. And that sort of happened across the board with just about everything in entertainment, and the rest is history. That's why we have the situation of, you know, get woke, go broke is not just a catchphrase. It is literally the law of the land.
You know, it's also something that a lot of these companies started doing, where they started going like, how do we get more people? But then people gotta understand, even as big as a lot of these franchises are, there is like an actual peak to them. There's like, because it's still a niche at the end of the day. It's gonna have its actual cap. Like this mythical unicorn that exists where you can just get way like a lot more people interested in your product. Like, yes, over time there will be people that'll come to it in a lot of different stages. That's always going to happen in every franchise. But to get this massive group of people way later on, after the IP's already existed for as long as it's existed, it's just not going to happen. Like, you're going to get some people, obviously, but you're not going to get this massive influx of people like you used to. It's not going to happen.
One of my favorite examples is like, basically, if you take like a band like Metallica, right? You take their early works, right? Where people like that appealed to a certain niche of people, not appeal to the mainstream. Then you had the Metallica Black Album, Master of Puppets. Everybody hears it, obey your master. Like, I mean, you know, and all that, you know, like, well, actually, sorry, I got my songs mixed up there. I screwed up the analogy. I was thinking about Enter Sandman, like on the Black Album, right? You know, the Black Album came out, it's mainstream, it's MTV, it's corporate, right? Appeals to the broader audience. Well, here's the thing, when you appeal to the broader audience, that niche audience sort of goes away. So you had people, Metallica sold out. They don't do anything like One anymore. They don't do anything like Master of Puppets. They don't do anything, you know, like Seek and Destroy anymore. It's all Enter Sandman and Enter Sandman-esque. You know, I use that analogy for Final Fantasy. I'm a purist. I was a 1 through 6 guy. All right, 7 came out. Don't think it's a bad game, but it's mainstream. It tried to go for the wider appeal. not as solid for me personally. And that's what happens whenever you appeal to the broader audience. The previous audience that was there for you when you were nobody is essentially left behind. That's the same of movies, video games, comic books, everything, entertainment. Look at Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire. Nobody was reading those books. And then a TV show came out. People went back and read the books. George R. R. Martin decided to appeal to a TV audience instead of a novel reading audience. And he's never going to finish that book. He doesn't need to. He's made his money. He cashed his checks. And screw everybody that started off reading A Song of Ice and Fire when the term Game of Thrones as a franchise didn't mean jack shit to them. It was a Song of Ice and Fire series. And that's how it goes with all these things. Star Wars. You have an audience, it peaks. You have these loyal people. And then you decided what happens is when you make Star Wars for people who don't like Star Wars. That's what you're basically doing. And that's basically it now. Every industry has gone about that way, especially with sort of, the advancement of the internet, modernization of everything, remakes, reboots, retcons. It's all designed.
You have that female angle too. Remember, like comic books had that one a lot too, where I think there was something like years ago, back in like 2010. You remember this thing? A lot of these companies were like, well, we need to get more women. That was their thing. We need to get more women, but the properties you have attract men. That's the thing though. Men are your core audience though.
Imagine the Lifetime network going, we need to get more men. Imagine All My Children, the soap opera that my mother used to watch, going, you know what? It's great that we have all these women, but really, this idea that you can homogenize anything to appeal to everyone universally is kind of the death of creativity. Because, the way that I sort of think of it as a creative myself is that when I'm, creating fiction, when I am writing, when I'm, coming up with an idea, what I'm coming up with that idea for? Me. And that's it. And if it resonates with people, great. And the people it resonates with are the people, the people I want to appeal to. I'm not worried about anybody else. And that's sort of the problem again, because they say, well, you're running a business. Well, that's great, but not throwing out the people who supported you from Jump Street is part of business as well. And loyalty does matter, but the more corporate you go, the less loyalty does matter. And then you have companies buy companies that buy companies, and loyalty's straight out the window, and they don't give a damn. It's about replacing you. Now the problem is that these companies have made bad decisions. They have not replaced the people that they've lost.
Milk Toast says something to think about. The time from when Star Wars first came out to now is about the same length of time it was between when Flash Gordon debuted and when Star Wars first came out.
That is a good way to look at it. Exactly.
When one doesn't understand the demographic numbers one is looking at, poor decisions are made. Yes, because this is an example I give everybody all the time, and they always understand it. So Barbies are made with the idea that their core audience is girls from the ages of 1 to let's say 8, right? So they're always put in the girls section. Now, there's no rules. There's nothing stating you can't buy your son a Barbie doll. There's no rule stating that. But the company that makes the Barbie dolls knows, or this person who's running the company all these many years, it's still going and making billions of dollars. That person knows if they ever try to make a boys line, they will lose money because there's just not enough boys interested in Barbie dolls the same way girls are. No one's ever said no one's ever said girls aren't allowed to like the boy stuff. You can, but catering to that small demographic in when your core paying audience members are men, of course you're going to lose money. There's not enough women that like it enough that'll pay the amount of money that men do.
Look, I love my girlfriend to death. All right, we've been together for a decade. I'm not going to make her sit through. I'm not going to make her sit through the fucking RoboCop movies. All right, that's not her bag. It's my bag, but it's not.
You'll watch chick flicks with her.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's usually to get laid. That's only for getting laid. You're not paying attention to the plot of those movies.
I don't have that problem, but the thing is that she actually does like she actually does like letting me watch it because she knows I'll be a smartass about it, and I will give the guy perspective. So I will sort of just mock anything. And so she's sort of gotten into, maybe she will actually watch RoboCop with me, because the thing is, she just likes hearing my input on these things, because I'm so smartass and I'm so unfiltered about everything. I'll be like, that stupid bitch, that's not how you talk to a man. She's lucky that guy didn't uppercut her in the next week, like while watching a romantic movie, mind you. But I guess that's why she likes me. But yeah, so I mean, the thing about it is that you have to know your audience. You have to know your audience, and you have to know that your audience may not be compatible with the modern audience. It may not be compatible with a wider audience. I mean, look at 007 right now, where they're talking about how they don't want the GoldenEye audience. That would be objectively the stupidest thing you could say if you're making a 007 game. You definitely want the GoldenEye audience. This is heralded as one of the greatest FPS games of all time.
Like, at one point, they were talking about, well, could Idris Elba be 007? It's like, and then they were talking about, could a woman be 007? It's like, why are we doing? Because I don't even understand these changes. I could understand a change like that if it actually made logical sense and a reason to do it. But when you boil down these changes that they want to make to these legacy IPs, it usually goes like this. Well, we want to change this. Why? Well, we're trying to reach a new audience. Why can't you reach a new audience with the stuff you already have? What is that?
It's funny because the first thing they do is then go to istophobia, racism, sexism. And you as a black man and me as a Hispanic man, it's hilarious because the people.
Black? I thought I was white. Oh, fuck.
Oh, yeah, you're in trouble, man.
I'm a white guy.
But you go into these comment sections or you argue with somebody, right?
Oh, good Lord.
And you will notice the people fighting for equality are white-ass liberals.
Always, right? It's always white people.
Wait a minute. Last I checked, it was supposed to be that because you're white, you don't have an opinion. I remember these guys; their minds were blown because I was arguing about, ethnicizing Batman, and I go, "That's really a dumb idea. I don't think it's a smart move. If you want to make a original black character, that's fine, or original Hispanic character, that's fine." And also all these white dudes that look like they haven't had pussy since pussy had them. Part of my language.
Okay.
They all just start ganging up on me. I'm like, I see 4 white dudes gang up on one minority. Isn't that, I don't know, racist? And their minds are blown when that happens.
I was told that when a black man or female are talking, you shut up. That's what I was told.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that mentality they have, because what I always say, they always try to justify race and gender swaps. My argument usually goes like, they never reply back. I'm like, okay, you're saying the race of this character is not integral, even though that's already bullshit. Okay, we'll use that. If it's not integral to the character, why are we swapping it then? You just said it's not integral to swap it.
Yeah, why are we making the change? Black Panther, damn it. And they got so mad. I mean, they will get like so worked up. And then you know what the only thing they have left to say is incel. And they will say this, and I will catch this message on my phone 20 minutes after I just got done having sex with my girlfriend.
Oh my God!
Like, this is hilarious. Oh, this is just funny.
Yeah, because their number one go-to is like, "Oh, you're an incel." I'm like, dude, I have a job, I have my own place, and I can get a girl if I wanted to. It's not that hard. But what's crazy is, you're not the first person to bring it up. Look at even just what's going on with like all these protesters in Minnesota and all this sort of stuff. Out of all these protests, even you remember that those big ice raids in LA last year, like around all these people I noticed are white people. All these Looney Tunes that are going around the world. I don't really see that many black Looney Tunes. It's very uncommon. The most Looney Tunes I see are white people, these crazy white liberal people with severe mental issues. Hey, I'll be honest here, I don't think therapy is worth anything. You need therapy. Actually, stay in therapy your entire life. I don't want you around me. I'm good.
You know what? The best therapy for these people is church. I'm gonna be honest. Church is, I'm not trying to preach to anybody, but hey, look, therapy is not going to work. You need an exorcism. Get your ass to church. Ask for forgiveness. Get that manic panic out. Maybe there's a correlation between like the manic panic and brain damage. I don't know. Maybe we get RFK to look into it. But it drives me crazy because as a Hispanic, when I say I don't want illegal Hispanics here, they act like they act like I've committed some kind of blasphemy.
They act like you just punched their mom in the face saying that. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
but remember, these people think that they're allowed to speak for you. It's so funny because they think that you're allowed to have an opinion unless you have an opinion that contradicts theirs. As a Puerto Rican, they want me to feel a certain way when a comedian calls Puerto Rico an Isle of garbage. I can understand it was a joke. All right, maybe it wasn't like the funniest joke in the world, but it was a joke, and it doesn't freaking bother me. It's like the most irrelevant thing. Oh, well, you should be mad. You should vote for Kamala Harris just because of that. No, because I'm not a one issue voter. I don't like anything Kamala Harris stands for. So you can kindly freaking kick rocks. Mm-hmm. All right. And well, how dare you? You're betraying your color. Well, there's more to me than a color. And if you can't see that, then you're the damn racist. You know?
Yeah. Because the thing is, a lot of their logic doesn't even make sense. And anytime a person, what's the old saying? Getting off the plantation, any minority that gets off the plantation, they're just like, you're the worst ever. You're supposed to stay here and just think like how we think. It's like, you do know that's not how we're supposed to even be as humans. We're supposed
My brother, I know you've gotten it. We're like, you talk just a little too white. What does that even mean? Like, I mean,
they've internalized in their minds that only white people have these certain mannerisms and can only talk this way. It's really, honestly, the whole crabs in a bucket mentality they all have. They're like, they're all trying to get us and all these things. And it's like, if apparently all these white liberals are this, apparently they're this wealthy, why don't you go around and give all your money away? They don't. They want all the billionaires to do it. They don't give their money away to shit.
Let me tell you, brother, they got a lot of money because they have the luxury of spending all their time sitting on the streets of Florida, yelling at passerby, screaming about how Ron DeSantis hurt their feelings or Donald Trump hurt their feelings or whoever hurt their feelings, whatever they're outraged about this week. Look, I ain't got the luxury. All right, I ain't got that luxury. I got bills to pay. So clearly you don't have enough bills and you ain't got enough problems. If you got enough time that you're going over to where the police are conducting an investigation, which, by the way, obstruction is automatically cuffs up, go to jail. Directly to jail, do not pass, go, do not collect $200. And so these, stupid virtue signaling weirdos think that you can now walk up to a police officer while they are conducting an investigation or an apprehension and disrupt what they are doing. An officer of the law. Doesn't work that way. If you make that mistake, the consequences could literally cost you your life.
Yeah. Milk Toast says, what is the going hourly rate for a protester these days? It must be a lot because these people are literally sitting in traffic, blocking traffic, which is already against the law in general. You already can't do that. And they're out here on Wednesday, work days, out here for 8-9 hours. You must be getting paid some really good money. Like, a lot of people think it's the whole George Soros funded, all that shit too. It might be, someone is funding these guys to do it. We just don't know it yet. But hey, the thing is, I don't understand with a lot of this is like just yesterday what happened with this lady. Like, yes, because I think a lot of people don't understand how multiple things can be true in a conversation. They think, no, it's just black and white. Yes, it does suck. Ultimately, she lost her life. That does suck. No, I don't think anyone is really disputing that. It sucks that her life was taken the way it was. But people are also saying, but the reason there's a but there is because you put yourself in that spot. Because people are comparing it to the Charlie Kirk thing. It's like, that's not the same thing. Charlie Kirk was talking on a campus, giving his opinion, and he was yeeted. That's not the people make so many false equivalencies. They're literally not the same. That's not the same thing. Charlie was literally doing nothing. Literally talking.
Here's the thing. You cannot expect people to have empathy for her situation when you have spent you've spent about 3 months now, September. So September, well, actually 4, September, October, November, December, and now we're in January. So essentially 4 months going on TikTok, doing dances, 3D model printing the thing that happened to him with his neck. Making comments to his wife right after it happens that I'm glad your children do not have a father. Like, no, you can't do that. And then, by the way, the day before this woman was killed was January 6th. And all of these leftists started putting out their memes mocking Ashley Babbitt, who was the one person whose life was lost that day. And she was a conservative. And they were mocking that she got, taken out. And then you expect us to have empathy or decency or all this. And some people on our own side too. But you know what? That well is dried up because these are people that would celebrate if it happened to any one of us out there. So I don't really have much to say other than that she was in a place she did not belong. She was antagonizing police officers.
Apparently harassing and stalking them from some of the press releases that they had.
I mean, I have a lot of questions because apparently her wife, all right, was filming the whole thing. She's the one we hear like yelling and being antagonistic the entire time. Well, one, why the hell were you outside the vehicle, not with your wife? All right. Two, you just happen to be conveniently recording when all this happens. There are a lot of question marks to all of this.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, you all a bunch of carpet munchers, but you got 3 kids that are now going to grow up without a mom. Who was taking care of the kids? Why wasn't it you? Why wasn't it your partner, your wife, whatever? What are you even doing here? And also, if you were from like Missouri or California, wherever the hell they were from, what are you doing in Minnesota?
That's already a red flag right there. They were born in California. Already a red flag. Just automatically, you can already tell the mental illness is already there.
There are so many things wrong with that story. But, the thing is that these people have been told, and they've been told this since 2016 when Donald Trump, became president of the United States, that you're allowed to antagonize anybody who thinks differently than you. You've had the infamous Maxine Waters. You go up to these people and you tell them they are not welcome. And, I do think that to some extent, it's very, very convenient that this was going on when Tim Walz is under investigation. Now it sounds like he will be referred for criminal charges, as he should be. These are things that, whether you agree with the left or not.
He didn't have criminal charges from the other thing where he may or may not have allegedly got that other couple killed.
Yes. And the situation with with him and everything going on there is that you can't tell me that the people at the DNC who decided, and it wasn't Kamala Harris, it was the DNC that decided to make this man vice presidential candidate in 2024, that they didn't know this was going on. As a matter of fact, this is the tip of the iceberg, and I think that's what these people are worried about. If it's happening in Minnesota, you damn sure know that it's going on in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Atlanta, even in states that have red governors. Red governor is one thing. It's still a blue city. It's going on everywhere across this country to the tune of not millions, but billions. And they expect you to sort of just sit there and be okay with it at the risk of being a racist. Look, here's the thing about it. If you're from outside this country and you're coming in, you're extracting wealth from this country, you're extracting from us. All right, you're extracting from us. You're not extracting from the white man, by the way, because I'm Hispanic and I'm a U.S. citizen. MSK is black. He's a U.S. citizen.
A white black guy.
Yes, exactly. But you're extracting from the citizenry of this country to give people who have a sub 68 IQ brain millions of dollars, living like kings. Look, I work 3 jobs. I can barely pay my bills. I'm living the American nightmare while some Somalis wearing $2,000 eyeglasses living the American dream with 3 cars, 2 houses. What's wrong with that picture? There's a lot wrong with that picture. And it's our politicians, especially on the left, that are floating it.
You know what's even worse? Is that even if you bother to question and say why it's wrong, people will actually use legitimate gaslighting tactics to try to prove you wrong and say you're the bad. No, you're the bad person for pointing this out. What? Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. That's legitimately insane. That if you're the one getting screwed in all of this, but you're the bad person too because you're the one that pointed it out. And what's crazy is that lady who ended up getting shot yesterday at the time I was doing this episode of the show. When you guys really truly maybe think about it, she's literally giving her life away, not being with her kids anymore for immigrants, illegal immigrants that are going to get arrested anyway and have a warrant for their arrest, and they don't even care for this lady. Let me tell you something.
If many of those immigrants had met her in a dark alley somewhere, they would have reenacted Death Wish 2. And if you watch Death Wish 2, you know what I'm talking about.
In Minecraft. Yeah,
exactly. Well, Death Wish 2, which is a Charles Bronson movie, there is a graphic scene where
I was going to say I Spit on Your Grave, but in Minecraft, everyone.
Well, yeah, exactly. Some hoodlums are not very nice to Charles Bronson's maid. Ironically, the Death Wish movies are very funny in that it's the plot is always the same and always involves some things that involve raisins before they're raisins. The GRAP word. All right. Jeff Goldblum's first movie was Death Wish 1. Lawrence Fishburne's first movie, Death Wish 2. and they both involve them doing not nice things to women, all right, which is very, very weird considering that these are two of the most prolific actors, of all time.
And I don't even understand why people don't even look at it from the perspective of if you're in that situation as any law enforcement officer, the reaction time you have versus the decision making you have is very quick, right?
Yes.
And in before people saw the clip of her getting taken out, there was a clip before that where she was already being erratic, trying to run over people and everything. It's like that's how dumb people are. They don't even look for the full situation. They're just looking at that specific moment and they think that's the whole moment. That's all that matters. It's like, oh my God.
The average person who got big from Death Wish 5, and I don't know. I can't even say that it was Charles Bronson's bank account because I don't think he made any money off that movie. But
as the nation's demographics increasing brown, the specter of white guilt will have less and less effect when it comes to trying to persuade the populace of things. Yeah, because what's crazy is if people believe in like the whole white replacement theory or whatever the fuck that is, I've been hearing for like many years at this point.
Yeah,
that lady died for people that are trying to get rid of her anyway.
Here's the thing about it. Guilt doesn't really work when you've got bigger problems. Am I worried about her? Not, because I got to worry about my bills getting paid.
Obviously,
taking care of my mother who's elderly, taking care of my girlfriend who I've been with for a decade, taking care of everything that I got to take care of. I ain't worried about her. All right, I ain't worried about her in any capacity. What I am worried about is when people come to this country illegally, extract the wealth from this country. That makes it harder. That makes the price of everything more expensive. That makes everything more difficult for the people that live here, that are working an honest life, working 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 jobs, trying to make ends meet. All right, and that's a big deal. And those people feel forgotten. And it's not. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden it means that I'm saying that everything that our president does is perfect or on the level. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of room for criticism with Donald Trump. All right. But there's a difference between criticizing Donald Trump and being completely deranged about it. And the man has done some things that are very good. He's done some things that are not so good. But the reality is that, you have things you got to do every single day, and they don't involve harassing police officers. They don't involve antagonizing people or cursing out some stranger or starting an argument because someone didn't vote the way that you wanted them to. Because at the end of the day, I don't regret my vote because Kamala Harris would have been worse. But people will try to guilt trip you over these incidents in history, right? Like slavery or the Holocaust. My mom died in the Holly, that type of thing. It doesn't work on me because my thing is this, and with all due respect, I'm not worried about 1942. I'm not worried about 1860. I'm worried about the here and now. I'm worried about 2026, baby. I don't have the time to worry about this bullshit. I don't have the luxury of giving a damn about what happened then. Were you alive then? No? Then kindly shut the fuck up and let me go on with my day, doing what I got to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even people like Nick Fuentes. I know a lot of people don't agree with what he talks about. It's crazy. I don't, but that's the thing with a lot of people, though. It's like, there's people that are going to be fucking insane. They'll say some shit. I agree with Nick is obviously insane to a certain degree, but I do agree with what he says on quite a bit of things. But that should go without saying. I should never have to preface things. Nobody agrees with someone on completely everything unless you're a complete shill, which is what a lot of people are,
I like Nick. I think I would have a better conversation with Nick Fuentes than I would Mark Levin. You know why? Because when Nick Fuentes goes, hey, I'm a little racist. I'm like, cool, because you're being honest. You're being honest about who you are and how, what your biases are and stuff. And we may not agree, but you know what? You're honest. And that's why he can go on there and say, look, I have black friends. I have Jewish friends. I have, all sorts of friends of things that supposedly I hate. Because you know what? Normal people can say, you know what? I vibe with that because you're honest. But then if you had to talk with Mark Levin, they shut it down. You made it a spicy meme. That's an anti-Semitism, sir. You need to be drummed out of this movement. Well, who made you the king of the movement? Who allowed you to decide what I can and can't say or what I can and can't think? I don't hate you personally, but you've already, determined that I'm another. And that's sort of something that we do have to worry about that's becoming more prevalent on the right is this otherism. It's the same thing the left does. The left will call you a racist or a homophobe or a bigot. And now the right is doing the same thing in terms of like anti-Semitism. Like there was some pearl clutching a few months ago about like some young Republican group posting like spicy memes.
I saw that. Yeah.
Like, who cares?
Do you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
A lot of people were criticizing that
Mm,
young Republicans group where their
mm,
messages got leaked.
mm,
The problem
mm,
here, I have a lot of people is all of us are in groups on social media, whether it's Facebook,
mm,
Discord, Instagram,
mhm.
Twitter. I would like
Everybody's
it.
spicy.
Yeah, and everyone gets spicy in DM groups. I would like it if your DMs got leaked. And if
Mm,
that were to represent everything you are, even though in group chats people just shit, I don't take group chats seriously. I literally
no.
will just blatantly say the N word because I don't
Yeah,
care.
they care more about that group text leaking than when a politician in Virginia said that he wanted someone's children, to die so that they would feel, pain. And you can't have it both ways. You can't, care overwhelmingly about some memes and then be okay with someone that wants somebody to die. And not just somebody, but someone's children. That's even
Yeah.
that to me. There's two things that should never be fair. There are two things that are beyond the realm of acceptability: threatening someone's children and threatening somebody's wife.
Mhm.
Those two things are off limits. Everything else, totally fine with. You know what I mean? Like,
Also, the other thing
yeah.
to come up in a lot of this
Mhm,
is not even just what's been going on with the administration and all that stuff.
mhm,
It's like there seems to be like these people online with like the
mhm,
right wing space where they generally think they're more important than they are. They actually act.
mhm.
They truly think they're the
Oh,
new Charlie Kirk.
haven't you heard? Haven't you heard? Dan Bongino is back, and I'm coming to get you, son. Ya black pillars better watch out. What? What? Dude who botched the Epstein files wants to come in here.
Yeah, and remember,
Yeah,
the guy that's the CEO of Rumble, he
yeah,
was very happy that Dan went back to the FBI because he was there before,
yeah.
and then he went to Rumble and all that because I think he was one of the main investors of
Oh,
it or whatever, and now he's
mm,
coming back, and it's
look,
more like I also tell people this. It's way different being in the position that we are versus the position that you're in when you're actually in. People say you're in the trenches.
yeah,
He probably thought it was
exactly,
going to be
exactly.
rainbows and
And
sunshines like it was before when he used to work in the FBI.
and I've
No,
had my
things have
issues with
changed.
Chris. Chris, obviously, from a business standpoint, he's going to, promote Bongino and that
Oh
this is a
yeah,
big thing
yeah.
because it'll drive traffic to Rumble. I'm not faulting him that. But on the same token, my issue with Chris is sometimes I do think he takes criticism a little personally.
Oh, he
I've
blocked
had it out.
me. Yeah.
Look, I've had it out with Chris for various reasons in the past. I don't hate Chris. I like when he says something that I agree with. If he says something I don't agree with, I'll challenge him on it. He once thought I was inciting violence because I said that my job makes me want to off myself. The thing is that, and he's like, oh, I'm going to give you a strike on Rumble and suspend your ad reads for like 20 days. And I'm like, look, Chris, that's a figure of speech that's older than you or I are. Say that your job makes you want to yourself.
There's people at my job right now that say they want to hang themselves when they don't get
Yeah.
paid enough. Now they're not doing it, guys.
Yeah.
It's literally it's a
Yeah,
joke.
exactly.
They're not
I'm
going
not
to do it.
Look, I'm not inside in or I said maybe I should stab. I said something like maybe I should stab people in the back at work the way they stabbed me in the back.
In Minecraft, right?
Yeah. That is not a threat. That is backstabbing is a figure of speech when people betray other people at work. It's also a great finishing move in professional wrestling that
and it's also something with Rumble where if you're saying these kind of jokes, I thought that was allowed on Rumble based off their terms of service. Actually, what's crazy is he didn't punish Nick Fuentes the same way. Nick Fuentes said some way off color shit, more off color shit than you've ever said. Yeah. He's never touched him. That's the problem, that favoritism that people with Rumble have. Nick Fuentes could literally just
and that's sort of my beef with Rumble a little bit is I like Rumble. Look, you see the Rumble URL is there. I do promote Rumble. And I'm grateful for the opportunity at Rumble. On the same token, maybe I'm not sort of the cup of tea of some of the higher ups, but I don't have like a disrespect for him. But what I do have is I do have a problem with a lot of the favoritism where some guy like Spartacus is fucking featured 20 days in a row in the gaming section, and it's like, yo, you do know other people are here streaming video games, right? Like stuff like that, like Rumble, if they want to appeal to people to use that as an alternative to YouTube, you need to sort of treat those people better, and not just the people who are constantly filleting Rumble. I'm not a brown noser, I'm not a sycophant. I'll tell you what's good about Rumble. I will also tell you the drawbacks of Rumble because I'm real like that, and Rumble should want to deal with people who are more real. I don't like the fact that they back of the bus a lot of people, especially a lot of people who are maybe are a little prominent on YouTube who are probably more willing to play ball with Rumble if Rumble would, address them correctly. There is no reason somebody that is on YouTube, the magnitude of Smash JT, should have the same amount of audience on Rumble that I do, or less in some cases, because they should be like, you know what? Smash JT is here. There's a prominent voice on social media, a prominent voice on YouTube. Let's maybe promote him. Let's maybe put him on the front page and said, oh, here's Spartacus Live.
What's the same people?
Yeah.
It's literally the same people constantly, and it's like Rumble, they wonder why no one's other channel gets discovered. And the problem with Rumble, you guys understand, is the featured page is the only way to get eyes on your channel, unless you're just already a big name like you said, Ryan or Decent Gamers or Nerd Roddy. They're gonna have people come wherever they're gonna go. That's how it is. But the only place to get discovered on Rumble, if you ever do, is by getting featured. And when you're featuring the same person over and over and over again, if you want, it's weird because in one thing you're saying, I want other people to get discovered, but you're only putting the people that you want discovered on the feature page the same times.
And when you bring that up with Chris, he basically tells you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. He gives you the boomer response. Well, here's my response to that. You know what? I have 164,000 followers on Facebook. I don't use Facebook to stream, all right? But I do try to promote Rumble there. It gets algorithm to freaking hell, but I promote Rumble there. I promote Rumble on X. I promote Rumble, right here on this stream where I've got it in my nameplate. I have constantly told people to come over to Rumble to avoid the censorship that they deal with on other platforms. And what have you given me in terms of the opportunity? You know what? I appreciate the creator program. Yes, that's great. But on the same token, watch hours do matter. Watch hours do mean more money that you get at the end of that program. Exposure does matter. And if you are treating me like I'm insignificant, then that means that anybody who's following me on Rumble is not because of Rumble, but in spite of Rumble, because Rumble doesn't see me as a favored son. All right. And so in that regard, sometimes my big problem with Rumble is that they feature their buddies, and then everybody who's not in the club is just on the outside of the club.
Out of the other side of their mouth, they'll say, but we want other people to get discovered too on the platform if they can kind of do like what you said, pull their bootstraps up to all that. But the problem here is the way the platform's set up, you can only get new eyes on your stuff if you get that feature, because the platform doesn't have a good enough algorithm to the point where it's like YouTube, and I wish the platform did have it. Like the one thing I wish Rumble had like YouTube, where YouTube is big enough where you can get other smaller channels circulated to you based off your recommended feed. Rumble doesn't have that. So the only way to get new people is the feature. And if he's only going to feature people he likes, well, then what's the point of me being there? Okay, just keep the people you like then. I'll take my shit somewhere else. That's why, as you know, I don't stream there. I don't stream there. I will upload the content there. I do. I upload a podcast today there. I'll still upload there because I want my stuff all backed up. Just
backed up. Exactly. But that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like if you want people to, actively move to Rumble, you need to give them, you need to give them something, some sort of discovery and something. And they act like you're being negative. I'm not being negative about Rumble at all. I love you guys over at Rumble. I don't like the way that you treat me. All right. And I'm willing to, say it out loud. I don't like the way that you treat a lot of other people that you've made some promises to. Look, it was like sometime like a year and a half ago that they courted all these VTubers that were VTuber friendly. We're bringing VTubers over here. Not one of the VTubers I know gets any kind of love, because Rumble doesn't give a damn about you if you're not playing Arc Raiders. And then their guys who are already prominent, all right, their guys like freaking like Lumpy Potato and all of them are like, well, if you're not doing co-op on Rumble with us, then you shouldn't be featured and all that. Some people like playing single player games, all right? And what bothers me about it is y'all I don't want to say any words that might get you in trouble with YouTube, all right? But y'all are doing the thing that I grew up with as a gamer myself, which is y'all are acting like a bunch of jocks that see certain shit as beneath
cool kids
you.
Club. Yeah, if you're not in the cool kids club, then it doesn't matter.
The only game that's Japanese that y'all will allow is basically any offshoot of Legend of Zelda. Beyond that, if you're playing Square Enix games, if you're playing anything else, other than my boy Fusegas, who's a great streamer, great content creator, awesome dude. Other than him, they don't want to freaking feature anybody. All right, they don't, like, in terms of people like me and everybody else,
And then the Rumble sycophants that will suck them off for everything.
He's lucky enough to be in the club. I am not in the club. A lot of people who are listening to me are not in the club. Obviously, you're not in the club.
I'm not. Because the thing is, everything you said, I was telling people, I'm not saying this to be an asshole. I'm saying this as things that you could be utilize to promote your platform more. And then the people that suck Rumble off, literally to the point where, like, think of any porn star when that lady was sucking dick so hard she had that dick to her esophagus. These people straight up have Rumble's dick so far down to their esophagus they literally can't see straight. I'm like, hey, how can Rumble even improve when you're just sucking them off constantly?
Yeah,
and,
exactly. And that
of
is
course
one of
you're
the biggest.
Yeah, and I told people, of course you're going to suck them off because you're getting featured, which obviously helps you with the watch hours for your creator program that you're in. It's like, how can anything improve? This is like a fixed system where nothing can get better because the kingmakers only allow their buddies in, and everyone else is just peasants.
It's Doc's buddies. It's people like Lumpy and Joker Effect and Silver Fox. They get to call the shots, and anybody who they deem is appropriate gets to call the shots. If they don't like you, your ass out.
Even Silver Fox is criticized. But it's weird because Silver Fox, rightfully so, I disagree with some things he says, but he's criticized them, rightfully so. And even that is taken. It's like, I don't even know what is wrong with some of these people over there. Like, Lumpy Potato is telling people, like, hey, Rumble Premium was made so you don't have to watch streams with ads. And then now they want you to sub to someone's Rumble Premium, and they'll still have to do ad reads. What? The point of having premium is to not have ads.
No, I don't mind the ad reads, but the problem is that they have a minimum of like 10 viewers, right? Now, the problem with the minimum of 10 viewers is that when you have a lot of people who you're not featuring, you're not getting them any discovery, and they're teetering at like 7, 8, 9 viewers, right? And they get their one viewer, and then before they can do the ad read, that viewer is gone, so they automatically are out. So it's like it creates like a stress, a desperation for the smaller streamers. They're not able to do it. And then more, and that's why they got rid of the ad read requirement. Now it's just raid 5 people, which is a little bit less. I think that's a little bit more forgiving. But you know what, people, again, if you want people to read ads, which I don't have a problem reading ads because they at least give you some, money, and it does add up over time. But when that was there, what was happening is you have these other guys, all right, that will bot, and they will have bots come into other people's channels and be like, Alabama John would like to speak to you. And you know what? Here's the thing. If you've got 9 viewers and that bot comes in and poaches 3 of them to watch this douchebag who looks like he's going to knock up a fucking convenience store, well, then guess what? Your ass out because you just lost 3 viewers to this dude.
Also, them changing it with those requirements. I remember it was fixed a certain way with like a few requirements, which wasn't like too bad. But remember how he added the requirements of like, no, you need to have this many concurrent viewers. I don't know if Chris knows this, but a lot of those people I can almost tell they're view botting.
Well, that's what a lot of the criticism is about some of these people that are sort of higher up, is that they are not natural, they are manufactured. And the people who are working naturally are busting their ass on their streams, whether it's a game stream, whether it's the shows that we do 2 shows a week. I do a show, John does a show, all of that. Like, it doesn't matter because you put all this effort in, and then you're just you're not pulling yourself by your bootstraps enough. First of all, I put the work in, but secondly, I'm not, I don't often denigrate Rumble, and these criticisms, if you take my criticism as denigration, you might have more in common with the left than the right. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm addressing my concerns. I'm voicing my observations, and if I'm wrong, correct me, or if I'm wrong, show me where I'm wrong. Show me what you're doing that contradicts what I'm saying for people along my sides. But it to me just seems like in some ways,
but it's never legitimate criticism that comes from that, because when what I really, my final straw from not streaming there was I kept hearing the same thing you just said. Oh, you're not putting in enough effort. I was live streaming there, guys, 7 days a week. What do you mean I'm not doing enough? That makes no logical sense. You're streaming there literally pretty much almost 7 days a week, and for someone to straight up come and tell you you're not putting enough effort, who the fuck are you to be telling me that? What the fuck?
And we, I mean, don't get me wrong, we're doing pretty nicely on Rumble, but as far as like things are concerned, they will pass me up for this person or that person, or some of the people in the same circles I'm in are sort of not treated with a whole lot of respect. Mr. Milktoast goes, it's all about the game and how you play it. See, the way I look at it, I don't play games. What you see is what you get, and that's why a lot of people at Rumble don't like me. I consider what we do to be the ECW of Rumble. It is on late at night. It's obscure. It's not for everybody. It's uncensored, unfiltered, and unapologetic, and that may rub some people, some corpos at Rumble the wrong way. It may make them clutch their pearls, but I don't do that toxic positivity shit. So if Rumble wants people to do toxic positivity, then all right, go ahead, be my guest. But you know what? I will continue to do what I do, and and be who I am. And I thank Rumble for that opportunity at the very least. But I'm not going to sit here and put someone's balls in my mouth for a crumb of featuring. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, because do you remember that tweet that Chris had?
Mr. Vilk does with the wrestling reference. In other words, that doesn't work for me, brother.
Do you remember that tweet that Chris had where he basically, it was like you saw how to touch on how people podcast, because I think I bookmarked the tweet a while ago. He basically implied, without saying, that someone that has more viewers on their stream is doing better than the person that would have less viewers. So if a streamer had 20 viewers and I had 5 on Rumble, that means that person was doing something better than me. When related, that's not how that works, guys. That's just not how that works.
I have seen streams with thousands of people watching on Rumble, and there's no production value. There's no chatters. The guys like a freaking zombie. All right, no animation, no energy, no passion, and because maybe he's Chris's third cousin or something. Maybe that's why he's featured, or because the people who are in charge are the same 5 guys who were jocks in high school and would be shoe salesmen if it weren't for the fact that Rumble features them every freaking day. All right.
Yeah. And the way that he phrased that, I was like, dude, I want to let people know this. Just because someone has more viewers watching them doesn't imply their content's better.
Yeah. No, quality over quantity, I say.
Yeah.
You can have look, I always do this. This is my way of doing things. This is just my sort of mantra. Whether you have 1 person watching, 10 people watching, 100 people watching, or 1,000 people watching, do shit the way you want to do it, and don't change it regardless of. Don't even sweat the viewer count. The viewer count ain't shit. Do things your way. Be unapologetic about it. Be you about it, and people will see. The people who support you are the people who recognize real. Yeah. They're not sitting here for some fake
change.
Some fake parody, some exaggeration of you.
Do you remember that whole Mad Black Atheist controversy that happened? What's crazy is I actually had him on the show, and I agree with what he was saying. Like, this person, I'm saying maybe he's a little rough over the edges. I get it. He's that's the person. He's blunt, but I agree with what he said. That person is begging people. He's begging to stay in the Rumble program. Well, this person who's autistic doesn't realize this. Why weren't those people watching you? Why are you having to beg people to watch your stream so you can stay in the Rumble program? Those people you claim are your friends, why aren't they watching you? It's because nothing there, in my opinion, which a lot of the friendships are all fake. It's all these people that are just, I don't really know what they're doing. They're trying to prop up each other in this, they say they're not like Twitch for these people, and they're literally just like all Twitch people do. There's no genuine friendships.
It's a big club and you ain't in it. It's the same thing on Twitch. It's the same thing on any platform. There's going to be an in group and an out group. And the way I look at it is, I don't operate that way. I'm just unapologetically me, regardless. What you see is what you get. Do I have people that I do shows with, and people in certain circles that I'm friends with? Obviously, we all do. But on the same token, I just sort of do things how I do them, and I'm very unapologetic about it, and I thank the people who support me, wherever they follow me, wherever I do things, and my thing is, obviously, look, I'm not like I said, I'm not denigrating Rumble. You can use the platform, you can grow on the platform, but you just have to be aware of the fact that you're not going to get any help. It is a very steep hill to climb, and you realize that when you see that a lot of people who are thriving on other platforms still are not getting the digits on Rumble that they should be getting. Look, I love Side Scrollers to death. Craig's like an awesome dude. Everybody who works at Side Scrollers, great people. Much love to those guys, right? But not everyone's getting the same, positive, sort of treatment that Side Scrollers do at Rumble. Like I said, Smash JT. Smash JT is also a very large channel, and he comes over there and Rumble's sort of like, just like, what are you guys doing? Like, you should be pushing Smash. You should be pushing Hypno. You should be pushing these guys. These are people. But, Jay Viper's a great example. Jay Viper, this is a guy who, he's not like some newbie, not some ham and egger. This is a guy who's been around on YouTube and Twitch and been there since the beginning. And I'll hang out with Jay over on Rumble because, usually I use Rumble over YouTube where I can. Truth be told, if anybody has an alternative to YouTube, I'm constantly using the alternative because how I feel about things. But it's like, damn, why Rumble has a gaming section and they're not like pushing. Now Jay's telling his people, yo, I'm on Rumble, I'm on Rumble, I'm on Rumble. But if Rumble isn't meeting you the rest, you can meet them halfway, but if they don't meet you the rest of the way, doesn't matter.
It was also the same thing for me when when Charlie Kirk passed away and they had the exclusive streams where it was Charlie Kirk's funerals and all that stuff. All those people are, surprisingly, they always talk about they don't have enough people on their website. But those days, you're getting all this influx of people. They're literally here to watch, and then the site freezes constantly because they can't handle this much traffic. And then, for me, the problem that happens with Rumble is a lot of people have to understand the company is supposed to make good decisions, so it draws more viewers to their platform. And then you, as the content creator, reap the benefits of that because you've put in the work, and then you get those people, and they stay there. Rumble doesn't, as a company, do a good enough job to attract new people. So the people there are just the people there, and that's not enough people. And it's such a small audience. They're only going to go to the biggest people because they go to where the attraction is. That's what people view bots.
Exactly.
And
what happens now is, again, even if you have like these good circles, what happens is you bring your buddies over there, and now all of you are streaming sometimes at the same time, and then all of you just have like 3 viewers like because everyone's just all split up. Like sometimes I'll look at Rumble, I'll be like, oh wait, like 35 other people I know are streaming right now. If I start streaming, there's gonna be nobody there. But then I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyway. Because you know what, I do what I do regardless. I don't worry about anybody else, even my friends. Because you know what, if you start worrying about if we always all as a collective stopped streaming because someone else was, none of us would stream. We'd all just be like sitting there like, no, I can't do that. That person's on. I never look at it that way. I don't care, if some big dog like Tim Pool or the Quartering is streaming, I don't care if my friends are. You know what? I got to do my content. I know I got to do my thing. And I appreciate everybody. You know what I'm saying? I don't have any negativity towards anybody, including on Rumble, even the people that I've criticized by name. Thing is, I just think that, personally, like when you create a click and you make it that obvious, don't try to tell me it's something other than what it is. That's my problem at the end of the day. Also,
don't tell people who've been streaming on your website 5+ days a week, 2+ hours.
You know what? They're not putting in enough work. I was Rumble before any of the people that they're pushing have been on Rumble, and Rumble's giving me jack shit. When they've only maybe featured me 3 times in the 6 years I've been there. 2 Dragon Quest streams, which I'm pretty sure the only reason they featured me is probably because Aegis suggested it. And one before anybody else was there, Final Fantasy VI stream. It got 25,000 people, and a lot of dislikes. A lot of people were like, "This gaming is so beneath me. I don't like gaming. I don't like. Why does Rumble have gaming?" Because people were primarily focused on the fact that Rumble is a political platform, right? So I was there back then, and they still sort of treat me like, "Oh, well, you're just nobody." Well, you know what? That's your opinion. I don't give a fuck about it, no matter how much money you got. I guess that's just me as a habitual line stepper. That's fine and good. Look, I'm not on Chris Pavlovsky's Christmas card list or Hanukkah or whatever he celebrates, but I don't hate the man. I actually hope for Rumble to succeed, but I do want Rumble's success to be my success as well, and that's where sort of the ideology is a little bit different.
But he keeps making so many bad decisions. Do you remember that one guy that was a white guy? He was a person who was very big on a lot of different platforms, and he kept saying, well, on Rumble, I'm just not getting enough traction there to make it a live stream. And then Chris, you remember what he said? I'm pretty sure he said this word for word. Well, if we could feature everybody, we would, but I can't. But you feature the same people, though. What do you mean? Yeah. You go out of your way to feature the same people,
that's the
though.
issue. And like I said before,
this guy had a big audience. He had a massive audience.
They've had this Spartacus do for like 20 days in a row, after 9 p.m. where he's game streaming, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The gaming section is now always going to go to him. The profit margin is going to go to him that he gets out of the creator program. The revenue is going to go to him. Everything is going to him. And everyone else is just like sort of, it's like if you're trying to get some sun and some fat bitch just stands over you blocking out the sun. Well, Spartacus is that fat bitch as far as I'm concerned. All right. And it's great. Look, if he's buddies with somebody at Rumble, more power to you. I wish you the best. Maybe you get married, have a civil union, whatever it is you homosexuals do. That's great. But on the same token, you've had your time in the sun. Now give it to somebody else. Give it to, and I'm not even saying me. Give it to some of these other guys. Give it to some of these VTubers that you courted a year and a half ago that have gotten no recognition. Give it to some of these YouTubers who have come over here that are multi-streaming, that are telling people they are multi-streaming, but people still don't use Rumble because they see that Rumble is not going to push that person, so they stay over on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what, look, every major YouTuber that also has a Rumble will constantly say, I'm here on Rumble in case this happens or such and such happens. Go over there, right? The reason people aren't going is because of the fact that if Rumble isn't making an active push to tell people that this person is here, then what else are they supposed to do? I mean, you can't cut off the YouTube just right away because you'd be cutting off your revenue immediately. So unless Rumble is giving you that sweetheart deal, you don't have that option, and Rumble ain't giving that sweetheart deal out.
Yeah, I get it. They want people to stop using YouTube, but there has to be a lot of reasons for you to stop using YouTube. Well, number one is music. A lot of people have YouTube for music. Rumble doesn't really have that. There are also, if the revenue is a big thing for a lot of people, a lot of people make their living on YouTube. If you want people to use your platform, you have to give them a actual financial incentive to use your platform. It's just what it's going to be.
I've found that, my experience with YouTube is I don't use it for my projects, personally. I'll appear as a guest like on your show. I'll appear as a panelist on Dignified Cartoon Gentlemen's channels, and my buddy Helzo Disgusting and all these guys, Noise Pollution, all these guys, great guys, all right, all of them. But in not having my own channel, I don't have to worry about being bitch slapped by YouTube and then just not being able to appear on anybody's channels because I've gotten 3 strikes, and now I'm a non-entity to everybody else because of that. So my way to get around it is just don't have a channel at all. Problem solved. Because I know that the way that I am, the type of content I have, and how I get when I go on a tangent or when I get unfiltered, YouTube ain't gonna like it. The Indian guys who run YouTube ain't gonna like it. The AI ain't gonna like it. Susan Wojcicki's ghost ain't gonna like it.
And I told you this too. YouTube has a lot of issues. I agree. I do not like the censorship they do, but Rumble, in my opinion, at this point, should be in the running to be a viable competitor. And I get it. YouTube didn't actually start out being that way because they have the Google investment. But Rumble, I don't see making any huge progress for it to be that way.
If Rumble had YouTube's discovery, then I think it would be all right. I think, but the thing is,
it would be way better than what it is.
But YouTube's policy is absolute garbage. I'm not afraid to say that. This AI moderation has been a disaster. And it's sad and it's scary, actually, for a lot of people I know who do make their living on YouTube to worry that you might mistake a microphone for a firearm or take some clip from 4 years ago out of context and all this. That's not fair to anybody, and Rumble should be capitalizing on it. I want Rumble to capitalize on it, but I want Rumble to capitalize it in a way that makes it better for the smaller creator. And I'm not talking about a smaller creator is not Lumpy Potato. I'm sorry. Lumpy already has his following, all right? A smaller creator is not Spartacus, who you featured 30 days in a row. That guy's got his following, all right? Your top guys over on Rumble
What's that one girl
have their following.
There's that one girl, I think her name is Gamer Girl. And I don't think she's a bad person. We never had any actual bad interaction.
Gamer Girl's a good person. She's really cool.
But even she's drinking the Rumble Kool-Aid a few times where she's mentioned to me, I was like, hey, I'm doing everything I can. And she's like, well, you got to just do better. It's like, what are you talking about?
Well,
what is this?
Gamer Girl and some of the others, were named Rumble Gaming ambassadors, so they can't really, say too much, openly against Rumble because now I don't know the deals of what they may have signed.
And, they had that done. They had that event where they all got together, so
Oh yeah, no. Yeah. I went to that event. And I felt kind of like a weird outsider because everybody's sort of like, yay Rumble, and I'm just sort of like there, and I'm like, yay, cancel this podcast, and I have like my cancel podcast shirt on. You know what I'm saying? And look, I could switch to the Rumble shirt, but I'd be dressed like everybody else, and that's not my way. I'm the CM Punk of Rumble, and I don't even like CM Punk as a person, but I get the idea. All right, but you know what? That being said, they
don't even use that gaming Twitter account. Remember that they made that gaming Twitter account specifically to promote gaming on Rumble?
Oh yeah.
They don't even use that anymore.
Not only for their buddies. Only for their buddies. I mean, and the thing about it for me is that I think there's a lot of great people on Rumble that's fine and good, but if you're soaking up all the sun and everybody else looks like vampires, look, you guys are soaking up so much sun. I'm like Lydia Dietz from Beetlejuice levels of white, and I'm brown as fuck. So maybe get out the way and let some more people into that sunlight. That's what they need to do. I know
today
people,
they were like, Bongino's back. It's like,
that's great.
right.
Another big creator that's going to suck up more of the spotlight.
That's going to do the same thing.
You know, and and it's they did this lineup thing with a bunch of their prominent creators during the day, and that does. I mean, it works, but it also doesn't. It draws eyes to the platform. But then, like, if you're streaming from the hours that Vince goes on in the morning to the hours that I think the last person to go on, who is it? Is it DiPaolo, Nick DiPaolo? I mean, look, if you're fucking streaming against Nick DiPaolo, who is a legend, what chance do you have? All right, I'm a funny guy. I'm like this compared to Nick DiPaolo. I'm just like as cold as a corpse. All right. I love Nick to death. He's funny, but what chance does a small creator have up against Nick DiPaolo? Come on, it's not going to happen.
If you're streaming, and Rumble even moved to a let's say a mainstream media style shows. Remember, because before it was just a little bit before they had those big contracts. Then it was like 2020, beginning 2025, 2024. They had those. They make those big contracts with a lot of people like Tim Pool and Steven Crowder and Quartering, where they all went, hey. We're going to be streaming here and everything. And they literally did the whole mainstream media thing. They featured this person's show, then this person's show. Well, as you guys understand, if Steven Crowder is streaming in the podcast section and I start streaming in the same section, who do you guys think is going to watch? Who are they watching? Not me. I'm not even going to get attention. And what's crazy is the rate. Steven Crowder isn't going to rate other people. But you know why he doesn't? Because it'll give other people it'll give attention to someone else, which is this competition. So big people are only going to rate other big people because they share the same audience.
It's a big club you went in it. It's the epitome of that. And again, these are all I'm not denigrating any of these people. I'm not envious of their success. I think they're all great people who earned it on their own right. But what I'm saying is that it is hard for other creators to get that little piece of the pie because we're sort of like afterthoughts, and that's the issue. And another thing that I've had it out and a lot of people know I'm very vocal about with Rumble is that look, FPS isn't the only genre of video game. You got to get off that shit. There's people who play RPGs. There's people who play retro. There's people who play cozy games. There's people who play puzzle games. Look, there's people who play racing, everything else. It's ridiculous to me that the general attitude is that you have to play what everybody else on Rumble plays or you're not going to get a spot in the sun. That's garbage. I'm sorry. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying Arc Raiders. It's not my bag. All right? I'm going to play like Final Fantasy. I'm going to play Clair Obscura. I'm going to play Dragon Quest. I'm going to play Look, I will have more fun with old-ass Earthbound on Super NES than I would playing Arc Raiders. So you got to get away from this idea that your idea of your idea of gaming is the definition of gaming. That's the same sort of attitude that the left has.
Too. Like, I want people to understand, because I know people have given this argument with Rumble, like, but you can't have them both. Actually, you can. YouTube is quite literally politics and gaming. It's not. It doesn't have to be either one you choose. It's about the way you go about promoting them. Because a bunch of platforms are all in one encompassing, depending on how their rules are. Like,
it has to be all in one encompassing. There has to be sports. There has to be finance. There has to be all these different things. But they need to push those things. If you if you are a small creator and you don't get discovery on Rumble, you're not going to use Rumble. You're gonna pack up your ball. You're gonna take your ball. You're gonna go home. Not everyone's gonna persevere.
One guy was arguing to me about he was just uploading pre-recorded videos to Rumble, and his argument was, well, if I make them well edited, then people will watch. I was like, dude, it has no discovery. You're making well edited content for no one that's going to watch it. It won't matter if it's well edited. And he thought I was a hater of his. He was like, he even retweeted me. He's like, I got my first hit. I'm like, dude, I'm not hating. I'm just telling you like it is. Then in a few weeks later in a thread, I saw him saying to a person like, well, how can I get more followers on Rumble? No shit. All this well-edited content people are making won't matter when no one's watching it. And then you're going to feel like what you're putting in doesn't matter. So you're not going to want to use the platform. It's just how it works. But
yeah, exactly. I use the platform. I don't hate the platform for what it is, but I also can absolutely acknowledge that there are severe flaws that
severe
need to be
favoritism too.
addressed, that are flaws and favoritism that are holding Rumble back as a platform. And I wish that they weren't, because there's a lot of people that I like here on YouTube. I'd love to see them able to multi-stream, but if there's no sort of effort for that other than wasted bandwidth, you're going to have less people even attempting to do it, and that's a shame. Rumble should be courting people actively to want to leave YouTube, because YouTube right now, as we've just said before, is a disaster. The AI algorithm nonsense is a disaster. One thing I'll give Rumble 10 out of 10 times is if I email Rumble support, I will get people at Rumble support. They may not get back to me like immediately, but they'll get back to me. Like I had a problem where the links weren't showing previews in like Discord, and I got onto them about it. I said, look, I'm not trying to get onto you like in a negative way. It's just that other people who are also on Rumble don't have that problem, but my channel and like 3 other friends' channels have that problem. Can you fix it? And they fixed it. And I love that, because if that happened to you on YouTube, your ass out. YouTube ain't going to give a damn about what happens to you. And so I love that there are people there at Rumble. There are good people there, but I do feel like some of the other people at Rumble sort of, don't address the concerns of the plebs, the rabble, as they sort of view us. And that's a shame, because you know what? Again, if you're on there, you want the platform to succeed because you want a viable option to be able to stream to get away from these places. But until you become a platform where people can do that and build an audience, you're not going to be able to coax as many people from YouTube as you'd like to do. It's just not going to happen.
What do you think about the Rumble crypto wallet that they made go live a few days ago?
I think it's brilliant, in the sense that it's crypto for people who don't really understand crypto to an extent. And there is a lot of issues with debanking, deboosting. Nick Fuentes is a great example. Nick Fuentes, now this is a guy who is prominent on Rumble, all right? And he has been debanked. That you need that insulation. PayPal can cut you off. Any of these places can cut you off.
Any payment processors, Stripe too.
I mean, or now the chargebacks that we've seen with Camelcast, last month.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which that could, if you're a YouTube creator and that happens to you, it could ruin your life. It could ruin your well-being. So I like that Rumble did that, because that needs to happen. But I also think, I know that Chris is pushing it heavily, and absolutely that's his baby. He's been working on it for some time. But it's going to take more than Rumble Wallet to get people over here. I like the fact that it's there. I think that it's an amazingly great idea. I love the idea. I think that the idea of insulating someone from debanking, deboosting, not being able to earn tips, not being able to earn anything, allowing people to tip even if that person is not online, all excellent ideas. But ultimately, again, it goes down to discovery. People need to be able to be discovered on Rumble. The people with 100K plus channels on YouTube need to know that if they are also broadcasting to Rumble, that Rumble will actually try to at least meet them halfway, feature them for a little bit, or go, hey, look, Smash JT comes there, J Viper comes here. There should be at least for a day, like, hey, Smash TV now on Rumble, come hang out, and maybe a couple tweets about it.
Even Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, he told Gordon it was a shitty platform, and well, of course it is. The thing is, I like that Rumble is an aspect that exists where it can be a place where if anything bad happens, these things are a thing. But that shouldn't just be carte blanche, just be complete garbage and do whatever you want. There has to be some level of structure to make it bigger than what it is. There has to be,
and that's my thing. Look, for me, somebody who was always sort of marketing myself as too crude for YouTube, it sort of works in the effect that I've already got that sort of moniker, mindset coming in. But you got to turn Rumble to be a place that's viable aside from YouTube, not a place that's in case I lose my YouTube. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. It can't be this, well, in case I lose my YouTube, I'm over here. It needs to be, okay, well, I'm over here. There's lots of people watching. There's lots of people interacting. Come over here. We're completely uncensored. And so that needs to sort of pivot. Like Rumble needs to embrace, look, you're not going to just, you know what it is? It's kind of like this. Here's a good example, right? Let's say you are with your boy at the bar, right? And he's complaining that he can't get a girlfriend. And there's a bunch of chicks in the room, and he doesn't talk to a single damn one, and then complains, "Oh, well, the chicks aren't. I don't. Why can't I get a girl? You're not approaching them. You're not approaching them. And Rumble needs to, do more to court some of these, medium large YouTubers. It needs to do more to sort of, not be so insular, not be so cliquish. That's where I think they're going to have to pivot.
Because the way it's so blatant is just going to turn people off. They just, even though people do weirdly will have that, they'll be that way in their personal life. They're so two-faced that they'll say, I don't like that, but then one vein do it.
Yeah.
If that's the image you're giving off, and enough people are going to say, because the thing is, if someone says, should I stream on Rumble? I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I'm just going to tell you it's just not worth it. That's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not saying you can do whatever you want. I'm saying you can do it. But if you're looking at it from a perspective of mega growth, I'm going to tell you it's not worth it. But it just depends on what are you using
it for? What are you using it for? Are you using it to back up your content? Or are you using it as a plan B? And it shouldn't have to be that those are the main options that are good. It should be something that it's going to, increase your sort of boost. But the big thing I think that they also need to sort of work on is the whole toxic positivity thing.
Yeah, that's the worst thing ruining them. Is like people are just not giving them, I would say, good enough criticism because they feel like they're going to get ousted from a group. Like I heard a guy did like blackface or whatever as a joke on a stream. Then someone
Schleppy. They kind of went after him. And it's like,
because someone was in the ear of someone to get him cut out. It's like, how's that no different than Twitch then?
I don't know Slippy personally, but from what I know people who know him, he seems to be a cool dude. I don't think he meant any malice by it. He meant it as a rib, as a joke. If you're going to be a free speech platform, then be a free speech platform. Again, like we talked before, Fuentes, Nick has said a lot more spicy things. I've said a lot more spicy things than Slippy ever has.
Demonetize Nick.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Schleppy was, basically one of these guys that seems to be in that club, and now he's not in the club. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like it's like you're jumping him out of the NWO. Like, come on. You know what I'm saying? But again, we shouldn't have to look at it that way. And that's the problem. It does have that WCW factionism problem, and that needs to go away. Because you know what? I don't hate anybody, you know what I'm saying? Like that I don't know. All right. I don't hate them. I will criticize the shit that I see. I'll call it like I see it. You know what I'm saying? Look, and I may even be, in a situation where I don't really know the full story, or maybe my opinion changes. Look, I thought that this is the Ray. I thought that he was being like astroturfed by Rumble. Then we had a conversation. And we had a lot more in common than we didn't. I think he's just in the right place at the right time. The club likes him, and he's sort of got a good personality. I can see why. But you know what? Like he also understood where I was coming from. That I wasn't trying to denigrate him, because I think the dude's cool as hell. I think he's one of the coolest people that is actually succeeding over there because of the fact that he carries himself in such a cool way that he's not taking it like I'm attacking it. He's saying like, let's have a conversation. I'm like, there we go. You see what I'm saying? We can have that. But you know what? A lot of people who listen to him hate my guts because they don't like the way that I came off like initially, right? Well, tough shit, because
apparently these people that are free speech absolutists that are fancy people,
they're very sensitive.
All
they're
sensitive.
They're very fragile about criticism.
Also, I found it pretty weird that apparently someone could get someone ousted from the creator program because they're just in that person's ear. It's just like, then what's the difference between being on here than YouTube?
It's the same thing it's the same thing that we saw on X with a lot of people, that Elon took people out because he had a opinion about H1B and a lot of people didn't, and you saw that he was punishing people. I'm shadow banned like hell on X. I'm never getting unshadow banned on there, and that's the problem. So if I'm shadow banned on X, I'm essentially, I've got a huge following on Facebook. I'm shadow banned on Facebook, and my following is primarily Rumble, and then Rumble like sort of just throws me in the doghouse. Guess I'll die. Like it's like the meme. It's like the meme. Guess I'll die. Like that, and that's sort of it. And for me, look, I'm stubborn. I'm spiteful. I'm caffeine and spite keeps me going. I'm a habitual line stepper. I'll keep on going. That's how I do things. But how many people aren't built like that and just got discouraged and just gave up? I'm not going to do content creation anymore. It's not worth it. I'm not good enough, beat themselves up over it, and that's sort of where my issue is. If you want to build people up, build people up. But you know what? When you get cliquish, you are tearing them the fuck down. You're tearing them down. You're not building nobody up except you and your buddies. You're having a big old circle jerk and think that you're hot shit.
And the last few things I'll ask you here, man, before we head
Yeah.
out, is the first thing is, do you have anything planned coming up in 2026 for like the immediate term, like the first like half of the year that you would like to let the audience know about?
Well, now I'm just doing what I do. Again, I'm over at rumble.com, Cancel His Podcast. We do shows. My co-host John does Happy Hour with Dignified Cartoon Gentlemen every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I do Cancel His Podcast with John and Digny every week here, Thursday nights at 11:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My boy, the Dignified Cartoon Gentleman, that's all one word, is here on YouTube and on Rumble. He uploads clips of what he can upload to YouTube for those who maybe don't want to come over on Rumble, because a lot of the stuff that we say on Cancel's Podcast is very spicy. Like you got a taste of it here, but I do try to pull my punches here because of the fact that I'm such a wild card and I don't want to run afoul of YouTube while I'm on anyone's channel. That's why I broadcast to Rumble. That's primarily why I'm over there, so I don't screw anybody up. But we pretty much do that. I do game streams throughout the week, usually in the evenings when I'm not with my girlfriend or working or anything else, primarily JRPGs, things like Final Fantasy 14, Dragon Quest 10, which is a game you cannot acquire in the United States officially. All sorts of stuff like that. Octopath Traveler. I'm very much an RPG single player games kind of guy, but while I'm playing, I usually do interact with my chat. I do talk about events that may have happened in the day while and chat with whoever comes in. Eventually this year I might get back to uploading videos, but again, that would be like Rumble and also maybe to a lesser extent like Odyssey and BitChute, which are other alt tech platforms I use. I pretty much embrace alt tech exclusively because, like I said, I already know how YouTube is gonna treat me. I've been there before. It's not my first rodeo. I've seen how they've treated like old content I've done 15, 20 years ago. I'm like that. Look, if they're gonna bitch slap me over content from 15, 20 years ago, where I was much more tame, my modern content has no chance here. So,
I tried to get Odyssey going. I didn't understand how to upload videos there. It's like this whole weird point system with crypto. Like,
they've gotten away from that. Now it's just straight uploads. They've gotten the point system is gone.
Oh, thank God! I almost gave up that day. I was like, what the fuck is this? This looks like crap.
Dude, I absolutely do recommend though. Odyssey is sort of growing. It's a slow growth. It's a very slow burn. If you think Rumble's molasses, this is probably slower than molasses, but Odyssey will eventually, people will discover you that maybe wouldn't have discovered you before. It's a great option to sort of have as an alternative to like sort of back your stuff up. You could do live streaming, you do multi-streaming with it too. You may get some the results may vary on there, but Odyssey is definitely worth at the very least also uploading to see sort of, it's like fishing. The thing with content creation on alt tech is it's like fishing. You're throwing your bait out there and seeing sort of what bites, and that can be very helpful. There's a lot of and here's the thing with Rumble, and this is when I was back to Rumble for a minute that I was talking about. A lot of people who follow me on Rumble are people who initially discovered me on Odyssey and came over to Rumble. Because again, I am telling people, if you want to support me, the creator program's on Rumble. So your support on Rumble, helps me more than your support on Odyssey. That doesn't mean I dislike. I love Odyssey. Odyssey gave me a chance when Rumble didn't give a crap about me. And I will always be loyal to Odyssey as well. The people there are really cool. If you got a problem, with anybody there, they'll talk to you. They allow you to, sort of game stream and upload and do whatever you got to do. So also a great platform. But I have been, considering maybe getting back to doing, maybe like at least one topical video, a day, if time permits. The problem is, again, time, money, and everything else. Look, adulting takes it out of you, man. We all know it. There've been times where you want to stream. It's like work is like, nah, you come here.
Yeah. Or there's days where you stream so much, they're just like, you know what? I could do another one, but I'll just rest. I'm just
burnt out, man. I ain't getting any younger. In the words of Danny Glover, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Also, last thing I'll ask you, man, is do you have any shout outs? You want to get to anyone in particular and anything else you want to say before we head out?
Yeah, just one thing I want to say is thank you again, brother. I appreciate anytime you need
anytime,
me or want me.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be on. Just reach out. I do try to make myself available for anybody's shows that if it works out with timing. And sometimes shit gets busy and it takes some time. But I'm always down to hang out on anybody's shows and streams. Shout out to again my buddy the Dignified Cartoon Gentleman. You can find him on YouTube and on Rumble, and also to Discuss Thing. That's discuss and the word thing, one word. I often do show up on, on Hellso's channel on Mondays as part of the Reality Based Network. So you can find me there. You could usually find me there. Sometimes, on occasion, I'll be also, with other content creators in that network. You've got like Lord Triton, Stark of Iron. You've got Dash Attack. So, a lot of great creators over there. Sometimes we've, had collaborations like the Gamer Empress and, and J Viper and other great people like that, and I'm grateful to, always be hanging out with people. I'm grateful that, be on people's shows and just, chill and talk and shoot the shit. Look, I don't have many talents in life, but running my mouth is look, running my mouth is probably my best and only talent. So thank you, brother. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it was great to have you on, man, for your first appearance on this show. Can't wait to have you on again later on in the year when more bullshit's happening. And we didn't even get to the fucking bullshit at Amfest that happened like a few weeks ago. Oh my God.
True. Hopefully no more cities get set on fire between town and I mean, good Lord.
Yep. I was so happy to tune into Amfest and be like, yeah, why is this a place where people are just airing out their dirty laundry? Shouldn't this be a place for unity?
There's no unity. Look, if only the right had gone after Zoran Mamdani the way they go at each other, maybe he wouldn't be mayor of New York right now. I'm just saying.
That's true. Well, thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK